Welcome back to my videos. Going to be reviewing chapter 5 of Absalom by William Faulkner. So this chapter, we start off right off the bat with Miss Rosa's perspective. So we're gonna assume that Quentin is in front of her, listening to her. We get a bit of more of an understanding of Miss Rosa's prejudices. We start off with her judging and her prejudice towards Wash Jones. She does not like him, and there's a lot of references to on butterflies, and Ellen is often described as that, but we also see a lot of like changes or cocoon references and stuff. And yes, from this chapter, I noticed two very different points compared from the previous chapter 4. Chapter 4 was a lot of, it was mainly Mr. Compson's perspective. And chapter 5, this chapter is mainly Miss Rosa's perspective. And in chapter 4, there was a line where Mr. Compson said that Rosa saw his dead body and buried him, something like that. But in chapter 5, we learned that she's never seen Charles Bond, ever. She's never seen his body, and she's never met him. There was one time when Henry came to say hi to her at her house, but she wasn't there, and he had brought Charles with her, so he came to her place, but they've never met. And she may have seen a photo of him, but the stories she knows of him is just from Judith, and just from Judith. And she hears the shot from her house 12 miles away when Henry shoots and kills Charles, but it's an echo. She calls it an echo of the shot. She didn't even hear the shot. So she, when she goes to, she gets to Judith's house, she is in a panic trying to get to Judith, but she's stopped by Clyde, Judith's half-sister. And right here you also see Rosa's prejudice side towards Clyde. Clyde stops her, and Rosa is upset, says, "Don't touch me," and stuff like that, in a very rude way. But so yeah, she doesn't even see his dead body, and Charles' body is put in a coffin before she could even see it. She helps carry down the coffin, but with everyone else, she's desperately trying to feel the weight of his body in there, hoping that he actually has existed. But there's never any evidence that she could grasp that he really did exist. So he is this phenomenon. He is a mystery. He's this fantasy. And there's a section in this book where she goes off in this fantasy where she almost like lives again vicariously through this idea of him, that she is Judith and she's gonna marry him. Like she doesn't call it love, but she feels these things as a young girl going through, stuff, turning into a woman. And it's deeply impacted her, this man, this Charles Bond she's never even seen in her life. And so it's a big impact on her that he's this phenomenon just like comes and goes through her life that she's never even has any hard evidence of. But that kind of summarizes her whole life. She's just this aunt. She's just this younger sister. She's this distant person that's not really the main character. She's always on the side, picking up all the toxic stuff, the messes of these adults around her, and trying to figure these things out with like nobody, all alone. And this she's also this phenomenon. Like, she is also a shell, and this shell is also referenced a lot, like in comparison with the cocoon and the butterfly and stuff. But all of these people, these incidences are very vague and mysterious. They're all apparitions, and they're just, there's nothing she can grasp really. And you find that similarity even with her through Clyde as being a slave, with, you know, not having any privileges as like the people that quote unquote own her, that who are her family as well. So they find there's a bit of a section that talks about a bit of similarity between them. And after the death of Charles Bond, they bury his body next to Ellen's, I think it was. And Miss Rosa just stays with them. So it's the three of them, the three women, Judith, Clyde, and Miss Rosa, living together and protecting each other, supporting each other after the war, after the South is ruined, and there's soldiers coming home who are not the same people that they were when they left. These, you know, shell-shocked, hopeless men coming back who's traumatized and are on edge with their emotions. And then also there's uprisings of the black slaves after the war, and outside is dangerous for the three women. And so they have each other's back, and they don't need a man. They take care of themselves. They grow their own crops, food, make their food. And you also see the juxtaposition of Judith's life from coming from a well-off family or well-off lifestyle at the beginning, to how much the effects of poverty kind of sets in for her, and how she is a bit clueless and ignorant on how to survive. Even Miss Rosa, and Clyde is the one that pretty much knows how to deal with this. And but yeah, they all learn to kind of figure things out. And the two white women who were sheltered, got to figure things out now and problem solve and get exposed to survival. And you kind of see that. And Let's see. Yeah, they just, and then suddenly Thomas Sutpen comes home, and this is the first time when Judith tells Sutpen that Charles is dead and Henry is gone, because Henry's ran away after he's killed Charles. And you see, I believe it's Judith, it actually cries. This is the first time she's let herself go once her dad came home. Unless it was Sutpen that cried. I don't think that was the case, but it wasn't clear for me. I believe it was Judith that was crying. But and then this next section is about why Rosa stayed. It's not really clear to me still, but it's something along the lines of that he was the reason to live for, pretty much. Where's the line? But yeah, he gave them a reason to live in this sort of way, it said. So they were waiting for him for all three women. He was the only thing to live for, I guess, out of all this deprivation around them. And she felt that Rosa felt that she can be the light for him. That the mention of light came up a few times. So perhaps it was some sort of sense of purpose for her to accept the marriage with him. But we find out also, just a glimpse of that there's a reason why she completely goes cold turkey and leaves. Like, she does not follow through with the marriage, and she's even mentions that she's gonna be known as the one that lost the only chance she had with marriage, or whatever the judgments she might get. But still, there was some significant reason why she could not go through with it. Of course, we know of her trauma as a child of seeing Sutpen as an ogre, but she kind of, like, in this chapter, we kind of see her making him human, and not forgiving, but more understanding of him. And so that's where she kind of comes around to consider marriage with him, and it just goes with that way. She could say no, but she doesn't even say no when he proposes that idea. So it's kind of ruled that way, but it's really not clear. And again, and then suddenly we get a line that there was something so insulting that he did that she just up and left. And we still don't know what that is, but that's that, again, the pattern of this book, with that little hint, and perhaps we'll get more of it in the following chapters. So I think that's where it kind of ends with that in chapter 5. Yeah, and we do kind of go back to not reality, but the present moment of Quentin with Miss Rosa, and she says that something's hidden in the house, and that's where it ends. So I'm gonna stop here. Thank you for watching. Bye.